Good morning, Muscatine. It is Wednesday still, I think, already. Had a late night down at the ballpark last night. The boys played Burlington. They split a doubleheader, and Mr. Hollenbaugh, we had two young pitchers do great last night. Tom Norton and Kate Hollenbaugh did a tremendous job for the Muskies. Definitely looking up. Of course, you can go back and watch that on YouTube, Facebook if you want. And they'll be playing again Thursday night. So we'll have that, of course, for you. A couple quick things. Don't forget, if you're a golfer, check out Muscatine Charities has their 25th annual fun day. I don't even know what they officially call it, but it's their annual golf fundraiser, and it's obviously always a great time, raises tons of money. So make sure that you take a minute and do that. So those are the big things you need to know this morning before we get into some really great topics I think that you're going to enjoy. The first one is something that's been floating around for a couple of years now. Well, year and a half, I don't know. We'll find out. They'll know. They know way more than I do on this. But I've got some friends from the Muscatine Action Committee for the Ukraine. And I don't know why I keep wanting to mix those all up. But if you guys could do me a quick favor, introduce yourselves real quick and kind of what you guys have been doing since everything in the Ukraine started. Because I know it all happened fast and furious there at the beginning to start working with refugees and stuff like that. If you could give us just kind of a quick little background so that everybody has some context for what we're going to talk about.
My name is Deb Hueser, and I am part of the Action Committee for Ukraine and part of Muscatine Sister Cities also. And I'll let Walter introduce himself and kind of explain a little bit about what's going on.
My name is Walter Conlon. I'm also part of the Action Committee. The story is that I've had a connection with Ukraine for years and years because I have family there and a lot of friends there, and we have a sister city there. So we had the connection before the unfortunate events that occurred in last year. And when the war started, we first provided some assistance to our sister city, and then when the government made it clear that they'd like Americans to take Ukrainian refugees, we started bringing them over here. The first family came approximately in the beginning of September last year, and we have about 8 or 9 Ukrainian families now. I've kind of lost count. But we've been getting them jobs, getting them housing, getting them integrated into the Muscatine community, and basically that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate thing. Obviously, this is all, collateral effects from Russia invading Ukraine, which we've all seen the crazy stories that go with that, right? And I remember as this all started happening, John Witecki reached out to me and said, hey, can you help kind of like get some stuff going for us so we can like start getting the message out because we want to start bringing people here. And that's one of the things I love about Muscatine is whenever something like this happens, we don't wait. We just go. And I remember you and I talked on 2nd Street briefly, like right as this all started, and like, what does the process look like? And you're like, you know what, we don't even know yet, but we're going to be ready. And you were. And so what did that process look? Because I mean, obviously, there's like the government has to, I don't want to say approve it, but they have to like set up all the programs and protocols for it. And so, what does that look like? How hard is it for us to help get a refugee family here?
It's actually quite easy. If one of your viewers is interested in sponsoring a family, they should know the process is a very simple one. You first file an affidavit showing that you have enough financial resources to make sure the family's not going to be starving while they get acculturated. And at that point, the government sends after it approves the affidavit, they send a message to the Ukrainians to file some information online, basically verifying their biometric information and also verifying that they've had certain vaccinations, at which point they're issued a travel authorization. They can come to the United States, and once they come to the United States and get Social Security cards, they can work legally in the United States. So our job basically is to help them to come over, and also to find housing and work while they're here, and also for obviously getting them acculturated into the community. And Deb's been really helpful on that, on getting the people situated.
So what does that look like? So I mean, obviously for most of these folks, I can't even imagine what they're going through at home, right? And I have to think about how bad it would be, how bad it would have to be for me to say, I got to leave my home, right? Like and so when they land, what's their mind frame like? What are they thinking? How do you start embracing somebody and getting them stable?
That is a really great question. One that we don't necessarily ask them, so we just try to help them in whatever positive manners that we can, and try to be open to be able to allow them to talk when they want to talk, and give them a sense of comfort and security and a good roof over their head.
So for most of them, and please forgive my ignorance on this, for most of them, will this be a temporary situation? And obviously I would think the goal would be to go back when it's safe, right?
Well, the U.S. is allowing them to be here as of right now for 2 years.
Okay.
And then when that 2 years is up, then who knows, potentially they can apply to stay longer. The government may change their parameters for the whole program. So it just depends, and that 2 years starts upon their landing here.
And like all war refugees, a lot of it will depend on, is there anything for them to go back to?
Right.
Because in a lot of the areas, the Russians have completely destroyed the communities and expelled or deported many of the inhabitants, and so they went back to their hometown. They probably find it to be a desert. Others are living in, are from larger cities where they have jobs and connections and should not have a problem. But again, it depends from the individual to individual whether they'll want to go home or stay here. And luckily, there are programs that allow job-related green cards if they can show that they're filling a job that Americans won't fill. And there are a lot of such jobs out there these days.
There are. There's plenty. Which is a nice little plug for, if you are looking for a job, go to discovermuscatine.com/jobs. No.
Well, and that's one thing also is we're trying to tell the community members that if they're having difficulty filling a certain type of position, let us know, because there are people consistently contacting Walter wanting to come here, and maybe we can find that person that could potentially fit that job that wants to come here, that we could find a sponsor and get them a job right away when they get here, and get their social security number and go through all the channels properly to get to that point.
Well, and that actually brings me to a question that I've kind of been curious about since I saw you guys on the schedule, is what does the and for lack of the supply of refugees look like? Like, how many more people want to get out? Like, I would assume it's a big number still.
When we run out of refugees wanting to come here, we'll tell you. We're not anticipating telling you anytime soon.
That's kind of what I thought. I mean, it's, and our country is a story of this. I mean, it's our history. It is what we write about in textbooks, and it's just today's version of it. And so, what excites me about this I hate to use the word silver lining because I always feel like I'm making it up, but a silver lining is, if we do get some folks from the Ukraine, it's going to add to our melting pot. You know what I mean? Like, they've got different experiences, they've got different things that they can bring to the table, which is always what's made our country and our community strong, is the diversity, the different backgrounds, and all of those different perspectives. So what would you say has been like their biggest, I mean, other than obviously the safety, security, like that relief, what do you think's been probably the most enlightening or enriching thing for them as they've landed? Do you know?
I think possibly opportunities that they may have, and also one of the things that has been expressed to me is just the welcoming nature of our community, for one thing, which has been phenomenal.
Yes, if the refugees go to a big city, you know, they're kind of lost in the crowd there. And whereas here, not only do we have welcoming people, but now we have a base of Ukrainian refugees who can help the new people and get them settled too.
Yeah, and I remember I got to talk with one of the families at, I believe it was maybe the Christmas Symphony Orchestra performance, and you know, it's just so enriching and it wasn't a conversation about anything heavy, but it was just a nice conversation with somebody with a completely different, I'm going to say worldview, and not because like we disagreed on anything, but just an entirely different set of experiences than what I've had living and growing up in Muscatine.
Well, exactly, and I'll give you an example of that. Is I had a family stay with me as soon as they arrived here, and the mother of 2 children was a music teacher back in Ukraine, and
That's who I was talking with.
Okay,
Yep.
well, one of the things that I shared an experience with her. My grandson is a musician in the high school band, and so I took her to his band concert this winter, and she had never experienced anything like that, even as a music teacher, because when she teaches music back in Ukraine, it has nothing to do with instruments. It's all vocal, and the composition and the historical aspect, nothing in regards to instruments. So that was very different for her and enriching, and she was thrilled.
Yeah, and that's, oh, go ahead.
And well, in Ukraine, they usually, as I recall it, they'll have a special school just for musicians. They don't have the music program at the regular schools. So you're basically being trained to be a professional musician if you go to music school, as opposed to the avocation, which is the case for a lot of American students.
So as we look forward from here, obviously the situation over in the Ukraine isn't looking to get any better anytime soon, if we're being realistic. And so obviously we still need more sponsor families. Employers, if you have, you know, jobs, positions, reach out to you guys to maybe help start that conversation?
Yeah, we'll be happy. There are sites on Facebook for Ukrainian potential refugees, and if I put down that I need a left-handed sewer specialist who is at least 6.5 feet tall, I bet you I'll get 15 applications.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's actually really good to know, because I mean, it's a conversation I have with employers in this area all the time. Is like they could be hiring all day, every day, and still not fill their need, which is it's a good thing and a bad thing.
Well,
right?
and the important thing is for the employers to realize that there's a possibility. A bunch of our Ukrainian workers are working at Phelps, and I've been getting contacts from them saying they wouldn't mind having more. But the way I describe it, it's kind of like when you go to a banquet and they have a big spread. Nobody wants to be the first one to go up to the table and get fed. I've often had to tell my wife and someone.
Really? Now see this. You've totally lost me, Walter. Because when there's a buffet out there, I can guarantee you, I'm the first one up there,
well,
or at
yeah.
least number 2.
Yeah, and you get a strange look, but they immediately follow you.
That's right.
And so, I think a lot of employers, are very much like a person at the swimming pool. They put their toe in the water and they just wonder if it's going to get warmer. Whereas if they just dive in, they'll probably find that the water's fine.
Yep.
And so I suspect as other employers see their fellow employers hiring people and realizing this is an excellent source of good workers, you'll see more of that.
How, thinking about this in terms of our entire community, obviously we don't have a lot of housing in Muscatine, right? Has that been, we talk about housing shortages all the time, right? Has that been a huge issue, or have you been able to get them into homes?
we try to do is locating them downtown so they can ride the Musca bus and not have to have a vehicle to start. And we've been finding downtown apartments without too much problems. Now, presumably at a certain point we may run into a brick wall on that, but we haven't had that problem up to date.
Well, and that actually is one of the nice things about living downtown is you don't need a car, and it's actually advantageous to not have a car, right? So it actually works out pretty well.
One thing I do want to bring up also is one of the, I'm at a loss for the word I'm looking for, but maybe one of the struggles that the Ukrainians have when they first get here is the English language for some, because they speak Ukrainian. Some speak some English and some speak English well, and some don't speak it at all. So we do have this wonderful community college here that is providing them free English classes, which is phenomenal. And they all go and they all learn, and most of them learn very, very quickly and can get integrated into the community much more quickly. But it's a process, and that's one of the kind of the struggles with employment, though, too. And our hope, I guess my hope, is that employers will be, I don't know what.
Open-minded
Thank
and
you.
well,
Open-minded
accommodating.
in regards to that, because they are trying,
Yeah.
and it takes time for them also to earn money, to be able to earn enough money to get a U.S. SIM card, to be able to upgrade their phone so that they've got internet constantly instead of having to use Wi-Fi to use their translator and things of that nature.
I wouldn't have even thought about that.
Well, right. So there are multiple different little nuances to different processes that the average person doesn't really think about, but it's all part of the process to get to certain points that we try really hard to help them through and just make people aware of that also.
Yeah, there are cultural things that they have to learn when they come to the United States. One example, that in Ukrainian culture, if you're the guest in a house, you sit there like the king or the queen and everybody ministers to you. If you take the dirty dishes to the kitchen after the dinner, they look at you strange because you're not supposed to do that. You're a guest. Whereas in America, obviously, the guests are expected to help a little bit. They don't do the bulk of the work, but it's polite to help a little bit. And getting them used to American customs is obviously a step they have to follow.
Well, I always love those interactions when, it's something just like that where, here, we would all grab something and just kind of talk and do it, and seeing those interactions and then being able to talk about them and how different it is, and neither one's right or wrong, per se. It's just, that's just how you do it. And those are the things that I always love learning. So kind of a quick recap. We've got plenty of refugees out there. If you have room in your home, if you are so inclined, reach out, of course. There's 8-9 families here now that have kind of provided a base and will be a great help to keep everything going. So is there anything else you'd like everybody to know before you take off?
Well, there's not only 8 or 9 Ukrainian families, but there's also a bunch of American families who have done this in the past, and we'll be happy to walk you through the steps so that, as I joke that the definition of an expert is a person who's already made the same mistake you're about to make. And Deb and I are now experts.
Well, and that's, it's like a lot of things like that. You just get the first ones under your belt, and then it's, the first one's always the hardest, second one, and by 3 and 4, you usually, at least, you've found the bigger bumps, so.
One thing that I would like to mention is in the process of doing donation drives for 2 families right now. Actually, Rotary is handling 1 family. We are providing household supplies to basically furnish things for their homes so that they don't have to worry about that aspect, and they can focus on the more important things of getting integrated into the community and live life and not have to worry about that. So excuse me, but for the second family, I'm asking the community for household supplies. So we have a wonderful community, and I've got a pretty good list of people that I send information out to on a regular basis as far as what's going on, what's needed. So I do send that out, and if anybody out there wants to provide any donations, whether it's things or monetary, even larger donations can be made to the Community Foundation in the name of Ukraine efforts, and we just thank the community for everything that they've done to help.
Well, and thank you guys for taking the lead on it. I mean, it's what Muscatine does, and there's so many little niches of people that do stuff like this, like what you're doing, and it's what makes Muscatine Muscatine. So thank you very much. And with that, we will be right back with you. We were just talking about Ukraine. We're going to spin, and we're going to keep the global thought process all the way over to Morocco. So we will see you in just a few minutes.
It's time for an update from the Not So Late Show with Austin, brought to you by Unity Point Health.
Listen up, everyone. I've got some news. Things are still kind of crazy out there, and the pandemic is still going on. And it's hard to keep people healthy. And right now, things are really tough for healthcare workers. There are a lot of people needing help with their health. They're working very hard. They're tired. And they are working extra shifts. Well, that would be like when you just get right out of school. You have to go back and do it all over again. Ugh. So there's something you need to know. It's time to be kind. Healthcare workers are doing the best they can to help you. They just need your help too. Take care of yourself however you can with your vaccinations and your healthy habits. But if you get sick, go see your doctor. If you have to wait, be patient. Be a patient patient. They're real people just like you. And do you know why they're working so hard? For you. So show them a little love, or at least a little bit of kindness. That's one way we can all feel better. Okay, that's all I've got, everyone. Stay safe out there, and remember to be kind to healthcare workers.
This has been a special update from the Not So Late Show with Austin. Good night. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget, Walter made a good point as he stepped out. If you're thinking about sponsoring a family, but you maybe don't know if you have enough room in your home or anything, you don't actually have to sponsor them in your home. They can help find an apartment or whatever, just as long as you can kind of help maybe with some of the financial side, or even just helping execute it all and things like that. So just another extra little point there to make it a little easier for you to help if you want. So now we're gonna kind of completely shift gears to something that is, well, actually in a way it's really not shifting gears a ton. So I've got Amerie Alverado with me from West Liberty, right? And you were able to, well, let's do this, if you would. Just take a minute, because I'm gonna guess everybody doesn't know you. Introduce yourself real quick, and like what you do in school, just some of that fun stuff.
Okay, I'm Amerie from West Liberty, and yeah, so I'm 17, and just like in my school, I like sports and stuff, so I'm on the wrestling team and I play soccer, and I'm also really big into FFA and National Honor Society and stuff like that.
So basically everything.
Yeah.
Is there anything you don't do? Band?
I do band. I'm a drum major in the fall.
Sure. Okay, so I'm out. I'm not speechless very often. So you have a really unique opportunity in front of you. If I was your age looking at the ability, she's gonna get to go study in Morocco, okay? I can't imagine how exciting that would be. So could you kind of tell some folks about how this opportunity came to be, and a little bit about what you're gonna be able to do?
Yeah, so I found out about this program through the U.S. Department of State exchange website, because they sponsor a lot of different study abroad programs, not just this one. So I found it, and I realized that like there's also the academic year and the summer option, but I thought the summer option was perfect because then it wouldn't like conflict with my senior year or anything. So I just applied to it, and then yeah, I applied to it for the summer.
So what is the program? So it's a State Department run, functionally it's like an exchange program, right? So you just literally like applied and you're super awesome. They said yes and said, here, you're going to Morocco? Like,
Yeah, so like the actual application process, there's like the preliminary application, which is like very similar to like a college application. They ask you for like two essays, and then you're supposed to like write an introduction letter to your host family. And then after that, you're notified if you get semifinalist status. So that's basically like round 2. And then semifinalist status, I had an interview with someone else who was, like my interviewer was someone who had gone on a previous exchange. And then you just wait after your interview to hear back if you were a finalist or not.
gotcha. So the focus of the program for you will be to study Arabic, correct? Now, have you studied Arabic prior to this?
No, I've had 0 previous experience with Arabic, but I just wanted to apply because Spanish and Arabic have like a very few similarities, but I thought that just like exploring those similarities and obviously the differences would just be really interesting.
So you're actually, in a way, you're kind of doing the same thing the Ukrainians that we were just talking about. Like you're going to be that first person up to the buffet. You're like, I don't necessarily know Arabic, but I'm going, right? So what does the summer look like for you? Like while you're over there, what will you get to do? Like, will you be in school, or will it just be like a immersive experience, or how does that work?
Yeah, so once I get over there, I'll be hosted in a host family. So I'll live with like Moroccans and like get to see like their day-to-day life and cultural experiences and stuff like that. But the actual like school part of it, I'll be in like a Ahmadiyya Abroad institution. So they're like a nonprofit organization. They're not necessarily like a university, but they're like a teaching like organization. And I'll have Arabic classes through them. And then that'll be like the actual Arabic class will be from like the morning until noon. And then we'll have like an afternoon activity, which is more like immersive, maybe like doing a service project or calligraphy, or hear from a speaker about Moroccan culture or Moroccan issues or politics or something like that. And then in the afternoon, we'll get like some free time to like explore the city or just do anything. And then we'll have a curfew, and then we'll go back to our host families.
Nice. So for those that may be a little geographically challenged, most people have heard of Morocco, but they may not know exactly where it is. So like if you think of Africa, right, and you've got Europe that comes down, and you've got Spain kind of on the Iberian Peninsula there, and then like the Rock of Gibraltar, which we all know what that is, that big huge rock in between. Morocco's just kind of down right on that point. So was there any, obviously you're literally going halfway around the world, right? Are you apprehensive at all? Like, are you worried? Or are you just flat out excited and go?
Yeah, I'm not really that worried or anything because it is like a government program, so
Right.
I'm sure I'm in good hands. And it's also, I think this program has been implemented since like 2005, so they have plenty of experience. And
Yeah. Oh, and I should say, I didn't mean apprehensive from like a safety issue. Obviously it was safe. I meant more just like new culture, new everything, halfway around the world, and like not speaking Arabic before you go.
yeah, so I mean, I am like, I guess a little bit apprehensive, but not super, because like I understand that I'm sure like I'll get like implemented, and I'm sure I'll integrate myself.
Well, and just in, this is the first time we've met and had a chance to talk. You obviously are engaging. Even if you don't speak the language, you're going to be able to communicate with them. You're extremely articulate with and so you're going to do great. Like,
Thank you.
I'd almost like just like go watch you interact with them, because I think it'll be cool. So how long will you be over there?
7 weeks.
7 weeks. Okay, so that's going to be most of your summer.
Oh yeah.
And so when you get back, you'll be a senior at West Liberty?
Yeah, senior year.
So what do you think when you get back? Obviously, you're going to be a little different, right? Like, what are you looking forward to taking from this into your senior year? Because you're busy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've got a bunch of stuff on your plate, and this is just one more thing. But how do you think it's all going to kind of mix together?
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing I'm gonna take from this experience, like for my senior year is going to be like the new perspectives that I'm going to like gain in like those relationships that I'm going to make, that I'm going to learn from people, and hopefully like I'll be able to like reflect that in myself, like maybe new perspectives that I didn't think about, and that can help me like through the college process and even just like when I interact with my peers.
So I'm going to guess if you've got all this stuff on your plate and you kind of just randomly found a state program to go to Morocco, you've got some plans for after high school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a few.
What do you think you want to do?
I think I want to go to college somewhere, but I'm not really sure where, but for sure get like a bachelor's. And then I think I want to work for the government as like a foreign service officer, so like a diplomat.
Yeah.
But if I don't become specifically a diplomat, I'm pretty sure I want to do something where like I work in like refugee or immigrant inclusion, or just like something where I'm interacting with different types of people.
That's awesome. That's, you know, and again, you got to sit and listen to the conversation we just had. It is a real need across the entire world all the time. It's not going to go away. You know, there's always going to be a need for people that can help facilitate the interactions and can help. You know, it's so easy, and I think we see this in the culture, just in this country even, of if you don't understand somebody, you don't necessarily agree with like the first thing that came out of their mouth, it's really easy to like say, oh, I don't like that person or things like that, when in reality we still know we have more in common than we have in difference, right? And I think if there's going to be tons of career opportunities, especially if you can now speak Arabic, and you mentioned Spanish, and obviously English you're tremendous at, so you're going to be set. So it's going to be fun to watch and see what you do.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'll try to post on my Facebook.
Well, I was going to say, while you're over there, we'll make sure that you've got some contact info. Make sure you send us some pictures, and we'll like get them out for people so they can see what you're doing.
For sure.
Because it's a great experience, and it's great to see people from Muscatine. And when I say Muscatine, I always mean Muscatine County, because it's all, you know, we're all basically one group, and just taking the world by storm. So keep it up. Just go. Don't stop.
Okay.
We will be right back with Ms. Kathy Kuhl from the Musser Public Library, because believe it or not, they've been in their building 5 years. 5. We'll be right back with Kathy to talk about what they've got coming up for that.
It's time for an update from the Not So Late Show with Austin, brought to you by Unity Point Health.
Listen up, everyone. I've got some news. Things are still kind of crazy out there, and the pandemic is still going on. And it's hard to keep people healthy. And right now, things are really tough for healthcare workers. There are a lot of people needing help with their health. They're working very hard. They're tired. And they are working extra shifts. Well, that would be like when you just get right out of school. You have to go back and do it all over again. Ugh. So there's something you need to know. It's time to be kind. Healthcare workers are doing the best they can to help you. They just need your help too. Take care of yourself however you can with your vaccinations and your healthy habits. But if you get sick, go see your doctor. If you have to wait, be patient. Be a patient. They're real people just like you. And do you know why they're working so hard? For you. So show them a little love, or at least a little bit of kindness. That's one way we can all feel better. Okay, that's all I've got, everyone. Stay safe out there, and remember to be kind to healthcare workers.
This has been a special update from the Not So Late Show with Austin. Good night. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back. It was I love that Unity Point commercial. I'm going to tell you right now, I love that. So I have with me Kathy Kuhl from Musser Public Library. And if you could, real quick, I mean, obviously I know you, but if you could kind of give everybody a little bit of background on you and what you do over at the library.
Sure. I am the Marketing and Public Relations Coordinator at Musser Public Library, and I've been there about 1.5 years now. And I have a background in communications, journalism, and that's how I landed there.
So what does a normal day look like for you? You just get to go around talking about the library and all the awesome stuff you do, right?
Yeah, it's a great job.
I mean,
I couldn't do PR for just anywhere. You know, there are some people who could promote anything. I have to believe in it.
yeah, it's funny. I always try and like picture what it would be like if I was doing the person's job that's coming on the show. And I don't know why. It's just something I do.
That's a good idea.
And all of a sudden, I just had this image of you're the hype man for Miss Betty. Like, what better job is there than being the hype man for Miss Betty?
Exactly.
I mean, that's really, it doesn't get any better.
She was the first face I associated with the library. I moved here in 2010. I had a 7-year-old and an 8-month-old when we first moved here. When I walked in those doors and went to our first baby lab sit, I felt very welcome.
Yeah. Oh, she is. There's a lot of amazing staff down there, but
Yes.
Betty, you can't say enough. She is a Muscatine treasure, and again, what better job than being a hype man for Miss Betty? So you guys have a ton of stuff going on this summer.
We do.
In kind of the big swaths. You've got the normal summer reading stuff and all that, but then
Yes.
you've also got a little bit of a celebration coming up.
Yes.
So what all are you guys doing for that?
Well, it's funny that you said, can you believe it's been 5 years? Because every time I mention it to anybody, they say, it's been 5 years? And I've got a little
Well, I think sometimes we all.
flyer here. Thank you.
Yeah.
They've got one in their window, so
I
they're
think
helping us
some-
promote here.
I think sometimes it's that COVID time that we
I
all.
think that's what threw
think
people off.
We because it seems like I remember you guys moving in, and then we just all lost like 2 years or so, and then. And you guys were there the entire time, so I mean, and they did a lot of really cool stuff actually, like getting digital stuff out.
Yeah,
but
the TV station for
yeah.
sure, so we could push out programming to people.
So what does the 5-year celebration look like? Because it's coming up.
Yeah, it is Saturday, June 17th, 2 to 5 p.m. So it's right after the library closes for the day. And we hope it will be an outdoor celebration,
Yep.
but we're having it that day no matter what, so we might have to move it inside if it ever rains. And we'll be having bubbles and live music, and let's see, we're doing some giveaways. There will be a couple speeches, and we've got a green screen with some Oscar Grossheim photo backgrounds, and you can go in the photo booth and get your photo taken with like the antique Muscatine backgrounds.
Which is, so if you're not familiar with the Grossheims, you just may not know you are.
Right.
It's all the old black and white images, maybe not all, but most of the higher quality black and white images you see of Muscatine from that 1880, 1900 range?
1950 or
Or
60.
yeah,
around
or maybe,
that time.
maybe I'm a little early, but.
I think you're a little
Oh,
early.
well, no, because so what I always think of is there's actually a picture of our building when it was a confectionery, and that one was like early 1900s. The building was built in like the 1880s. But what we actually did is, so it's like a shot down the thing, that's got like all this hanging stuff. And I remember when we remodeled the building, some of that was still there.
Oh, wow.
And like you can see the ceramic tile
Yeah.
that we saved. Like we have all that ceramic tile down in the basement. And so what we did was we kind of did like a cut of like what it looks like now and what it looked like then, and it's really cool. And so to have those out where you can just like pop yourself back into that little, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Great use of a collection that you guys have.
We've got that whole collection, thousands of them.
Yeah.
The big glass negatives.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
So
like
high quality.
the real old school photography stuff. So that's not this coming Saturday.
No,
the Saturday
2
after.
Saturdays away.
Yep. And that'll be after the library closes.
Yes.
Just show up. It's
Just show up.
just show up. Like
we want everybody to come.
it's free. It's
It's free, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
just like the library is, but,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll have a nice big crowd.
Yeah, and I think hopefully we get a little rain before then,
Before.
so that you guys can have a nice day, but we'll still get some water.
Right.
So, summer reading. You guys, well, let's just talk like all summer programs. Like,
Yes.
what all? Because you guys have a ton. I mean, like,
do.
I had to enlist the help of my mom to get all your stuff on the community calendar. There was so much going on.
Oh.
So what all do you guys have going on this summer?
Well, you might see these kind of illustrations on our, when you look on Facebook and Instagram, because we'll be putting these little guys on there to indicate that it's part of summer reading events that are coming up. Next week, for instance, on Monday, we have naturalist Dave Bakke from Muscatine County Conservation, and he'll be showing owls at 12:30 right there in the library. And then Thursday, Mr. Taylor, our children's librarian, will be leading a story hike at Salisbury Recreation Area. And we'll also have lap sits and preschool story time. That's back happening again. We take a hiatus in May. But the lap sits will be Monday and Thursday at 9:30, again, every week. Preschool story time. Shoot, I forgot to write down the time for that. It's over here. 10:30 Mondays. And that's a preschool story time plus. It will go up to age 8 since those kids are home from school for the summer. We've got all that going on. Tuesday night this month, we've got some programming for adults and teens on Tuesday nights with people can try different genres of games. We've got Remus Arcane Exchange coming.
Oh, right.
They did a fantasy theme last night. Next week is horror. So
Wow.
Amanda and Corey from there are helping us out with that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we've got a ton going on.
Well, and that's the thing, you know, over the last, I'm going to say handful of years, but it's probably a little more than that. The library has done a tremendous job of making a transition from just like this collection of books to really embracing that community center function.
Yes,
Which-
that was a part of the transition 5 years ago.
It was, and you know, it even started prior to that. I mean, because like they've always, like the lap sits would expand, and you know, like, but just all these like clubs that meet, and like just being a source. Like I know the Muscatine girls softball so like comes down and uses your space for their board meetings, and like you know, Unity Point had some presentations there, and like.
Yes.
You guys have really been able to kind of take that community center function and marry it with all the resources you guys already have and just sort of like amplify both.
And it dates back to receiving that building as a gift from H&I. And that was in 2016, December 2016, when they donated the building. And they donated furniture.
Yep.
And there's all kinds of good meeting space here. We have 12 meeting rooms. I guess the H&I Community Center is technically room 301, which is our big room that accommodates 100
Yes.
plus people. But we have 11 other meeting rooms, and some of them are just for like, 2 to 4 people. I used to use one myself, just all by myself. You can do that too. All you have to do is go through the website or call somebody at the desk and make arrangements. If it's open, it's yours.
Yep. And that's, I know there's, a lot of people that are now remotely working and things like that. If you even just want to get out of the house,
Yes, there's several people
that
who do
you
that.
can like go down to the library and work, and you can be around people but not necessarily be around people. You can, what I mean, like you can be out and maybe meet a new friend or two, and who knows. But that's, and what I love about, again, I say this kind of stuff a lot, but that donation from H&I was really critical for the community in a lot of ways. It repurposed a building. It drove economic success through their new building going up. But then you look at just last week at what
Absolutely.
the Stanley Foundation was able to do with the old building. Completely different building today,
And
right?
that will be a destination for people to come see.
Yeah, and it's, it's amazing, and Muscatine does this really well, is, it's that next best thing, right? Like, you guys got that, that opened up this, that opens up this, and everybody has all these conversations, and you end up with 2 amazing buildings, well, really 3, because you've got the new HNI headquarters, you've got the library in a basically a brand new space by the time it was all redone.
Yeah, with all the renovations.
Yep, and then-
$6.5 million in renovations.
Yeah,
Supported
so,
by a CAT matching grant.
yep. And then, Stanley taking the old building, I mean, we got 3 new buildings out of one tremendous gesture from HNI, right? I mean, obviously there's a bunch of stuff that went with it, it wasn't just that, but it was kind of like that first domino.
matching grant that did a bunch of things too, that funded the dog park, that
Yep.
funded the West Side Trail, and also the cabins
Mm-hmm.
at Westlake Park. I don't know if anybody has stayed in those, but they're really nice.
Yeah.
They are.
Okay, so holy cow, we've got a lot. So
Yes.
a week from Saturday, stop down, late afternoon, enjoy the 5-year celebration.
Yes.
Go see Miss Betty. You got Oh Baby Lapsit. They've got a great calendar on their website. We've got it on ours as well.
Got a lot of energy in the children's department with Betty and Mr. Taylor and our other helpers too. Our somewhat new assistant director, Molly Garrett,
Yep.
she's coming up with a lot of good programming for adults.
Yeah, and that's, you guys have always done a great job of, Kayleen Poggle and her Tai Chi stuff. And
Yes.
Kayleen's wonderful. I've known her since I don't know,
Oh,
really
really?
small. Yeah, she
Okay.
lived next to my grandparents, and she's just absolutely wonderful, a great ambassador for the community, and great to have down doing her Tai Chi everywhere and on the channel and all that fun stuff. So
It's her passion.
it is definitely her passion. So is there anything else big that you wanted to make sure we covered? I mean, we covered a lot.
Yes, we did. I would just like to say some thank yous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I would like to say thank you to H&I, first of all,
Of
for
course.
that building that got us all started where we are now. Also, Stanley Center for Peace and Security for making the former building into something amazing. I'd like to thank our library board, our staff, our friends board, our volunteers, and our patrons for just making this a go, I mean, we wondered what would happen during that COVID era, and things are going great again. Things are really back in swing. So.
And that's awesome. And what I love is it I'm going to say forced a lot of organizations to really look at what they could do to drive better living for everybody. And that's what's come out of COVID as a benefit of it. Not that it was a great thing at all, but we've all learned how to do things better and how to design programs and target them and create a center where people can come in and remotely work together. And just it's a new environment that I think we're still all getting used to a little bit and finding our way, but it's exciting. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thanks for stopping in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Of course. So Muscatine, we will be back tomorrow morning, and don't forget tomorrow night to tune in for Muskie Baseball.